Welcome to Ashwrath. This is a fiction podcast set in a medieval village during the plague of 1348, told through the journal of its priest. A man trying to hold his faith together while the world comes apart around him. It started as an experiment and the response has been more than I expected. So if you're enjoying it, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever. It genuinely helps. And I'll keep going as long as you keep listening. Thank you.
Three nights since I last read. I'm not proud of it. The chronicle sat in its iron case on my desk, and I sat in the corner, and we regarded one another across the small dark room, and neither of us moved first. I have been behaving like a man who believes that if he does not look at a thing, it will have the decency to resolve itself. I am a priest. I have told dying people to face what is coming. I have told grieving people to look at what has been lost and call it by its name. 3 nights it sat in the corner, and tonight I opened it. The first volume, the entry for the 15th of October, which begins as it should begin, and proceeds for 4 minutes before I understand that there is new material in it. Not in the third hand, not the urgent one, but in the main hand, the patient one, the one that has been writing this chronicle since before I was born, and will be writing it after I'm in the ground. A passage I have not read before, sitting between two I have read a dozen times, as though it was always there, and I was simply not ready to find it. It concerns Edith Crow. Past the dye works, past the last good fence, past the place where the village stopped pretending to be a village. Edith Crow lives in a house that has given up standing straight. It has leaned for 30 years, into the hill, into the dark, into the particular patience of a woman who has outlasted everything that was supposed to outlast her. Her husband is 17 years in the ground. She kept his name and let the rest of him go. His opinions, his fears, his conviction that the world was a place a man could get a grip on. The hill took him in the sweating season of 1331, and she watched it happen. And she did not, the chronicles note, look away. Edith Crow's hands. The chronicle begins with her hands. Wide as spades, dark at the knuckles, the left forefinger bent where it broke and healed wrong, healed the way things heal when no one sets them. Crooked, strong, their own shape now. 40 years of root and bark and berry have stained them the colour of the wood's edge at dusk. Capable, the chronicle says, and then says nothing more about them, as though it has made its point and trusts me to understand it. She is somewhere between 50 and 60 years old and does not know herself which, having stopped counting some years ago when the number stopped mattering. I told her once in confession that God counts all his years. She said she expected he did. She did not seem troubled by the prospect. The village uses her, goes to her at night when the going cannot be seen, brings what it can afford, a joint of meat, a length of cloth, a bottle of something, and comes away with a clay pot and a small instruction and a thing that works when the other things have not. They do not speak of it in daylight. They do not need to. Edith Crow has been at the end of the village for 30 years, and the village has known, in the way that a village always knows, exactly what she is and exactly what it would cost them to lose her. She has come to my confessional. Not often, and not, I think, for the reasons people usually come. She sits behind the screen with the stillness of a woman who has made her peace with most things, and listens to my responses with a polite attention that has always made me feel obscurely that I am the one being assessed. I gave her absolution the last time she came. Whether it was mine to give is a question I have not finished asking myself. Thomas Aldred is a wool merchant of the middling sort, which is to say prosperous enough to be dissatisfied and not prosperous enough to be secure, which is a particular kind of unhappiness, and one I have sat with in confessional more times than I can count. He has a wife, Margaret, and 2 sons. The elder, William, fell sick on the 10th of October. The sickness was the sickness. There is only one sickness this autumn. It announces itself, and then it proceeds, and I will not describe how it proceeds because I have stood at enough bedsides to run the words through until they are smooth and lightless, and smooth and lightless is not what William Aldred deserves. Margaret Aldred went to Edith Crow on the 11th. She went at night, which is when people go to Edith Crow, when they do not want to be seen going. She bought salt, pork, decent wool, a small bottle of vinegar. Edith Crow took the wool. She came to the Aldred house on the 12th and looked at William and said very little, and left a preparation in a clay pot with instructions the chronicle records in full. A tea 3 times daily, no meat, no ale, windows shut, a sprig of dried wormwood at the door. What the chronicle also records, because it records everything, is what was not said, that William was by the 12th past the point where most people stop hoping. That Margaret had begun preparing herself for his death, in the small, private, practical way a mother does, the ways nobody sees and nobody mentions. That Thomas Aldred had not been told about Edith Crow because Thomas Aldred would not have permitted it. And Margaret Aldred had some time ago stopped permitting Thomas Aldred to decide what she would and would not do where her children were concerned. On the 14th of October, the same morning, Agnes and Ruth Marsh put on their coats and walked to the tree line and did not come back. William Aldred sat up in his bed and asked for bread. He did not merely improve. The chronicle is exact about this, and I have read the passage slowly to make sure I am reading it correctly. William Aldred recovered with the speed the chronicle calls in its careful way inconsistent with the natural course of the illness. He had been dying. He is well now. 3 days between the one and the other. The neighbours have noticed. The village has noticed. Ashwrath is not large, and a wrong recovery travels faster than a right death. Thomas Aldred, who was not to know about Edith Crow, knows about Edith Crow. He has known since the 15th, when a neighbour offered congratulations on William's improvement and let slip the means of it with the cheerful obliviousness of a man who did not know it was a secret. Thomas Aldred received this in silence. He thanked the neighbour. He went inside. He has not spoken to Margaret since. He has spoken to the others, to the miller, to the tanner, to 2 of the men who walked the wood with Vale, looking for the Marsh girls. He has not said the word. He has not needed to. There are words that travel most efficiently in the space where they are not spoken, that do their full work in a lowered voice and a significant pause, and the careful nothing of a man who is letting someone else draw the conclusion. Thomas Aldred is not a wicked man. The chronicle does not say he is a wicked man, it says he is frightened, which in the autumn of 1348 is the same thing in almost every way that matters. Edith Crow knows. The chronicle tells me this with the quiet certainty it reserves for things it considers obvious. She has been at the end of this village for 30 years. She knew on the morning of the 15th, before Thomas Aldred had spoken to a single soul, what shape the next several days would take. She is not frightened. I have read this twice. She has had 30 years to prepare for the possibility, and she has prepared for it. And she is in her leaning house in the last warmth of October, and she is waiting to see what form it takes this time. This time. The chronicle's words, not mine. I have a suspicion about what they mean, and I will not write it down. I have to stop. The passage about Edith Crow ends at the foot of a right-hand page, and I turned it expecting the day's accounting, weather, debts, disputes, and found instead the third hand, the hasty one, the one that comes when the chronicle has something it considers urgent. One paragraph. It is about Agnes Marsh. I have been sitting very still for several minutes. I'm going to read it now. Agnes Marsh went to Edith Crow's house on the 9th of October, 5 days before the market morning, 5 days before the green shawl and the basket and the tree line and the nothing that came after. She went alone, without Ruth, without her mother's knowledge, in the early afternoon when her mother was at the washing, and could not notice a child slipping out the back of a yard and taking the long way round by the dye works. She was not ill. The chronicle is clear about this. She did not go for herself. She went because she was 11 years old and dark-eyed and did not stop once she had started. And she had spent the autumn watching the sickness move through Ashwrath house by house, and she had decided in the particular way of children who have not yet been persuaded that the worst things are inevitable, that she was going to do something about it. Edith Crow let her in, gave her something warm to drink. The chronicle does not name it. Listen to her with the full attention she gives everyone who comes to her, the attention that is one of the reasons that they come. Agnes told her about her father's cough, which she had been measuring in her mind for weeks, counting the mornings it was worse and the mornings it was better, and trying to find a pattern that would tell her something useful. She told her about her mother's fear, which she described with the precision of a child who's been watching it carefully and filing it away. She told her about Ruth, who was 9 and asked too many questions and did not understand yet what the questions were actually about. Edith Crow told her 3 things. She told her that fear was reasonable, that anyone who was not frightened this autumn was either very holy or not paying attention, and Agnes did not strike her as inattentive. She told her that there were things that could be done and things that could not, and that the line between them was not where most people believed it to be. And then she told her something the chronicle writes in a smaller hand than the rest, as though the main hand was not entirely at ease putting it down. I will read it carefully. Edith Crow told Agnes Marsh that before winter the wood would ask something of the village. That it had done this before, that it had always done this, as long as the wood and the village had stood in their relation to one another, which was longer than anyone could remember, and longer than the chronicle was willing to say, that when the wood asked, the village had always found a way to answer, and the answer was never the same twice, and she did not know what it would be this time. Only that it was coming, and that Agnes specifically, Agnes, she said, not Agnes's mother, not the village, Agnes should understand that some doors once walked through can only be walked through in one direction. Agnes Marsh listened to all of it. She thanked Edith Crow. She walked home the long way past the dye works and was back in the yard before her mother finished the washing. 5 days later, she put on her mother's green shawl and took her sister to the tree line. I am sitting very still again. I notice this about myself. I am having some difficulty stopping. 14 years a priest. 14 years of sitting with the dying, the grieving, the frightened, the guilty, the ones who are all of those things, and at once I cannot find a word for what they need from me. 14 years of believing, or of believing that I believed, which I have generally found sufficient. The church gave me a shape for the world, and the world until recently had the decency to fit inside it. Edith Crow healed a dying boy, The chronicle records what she bought and what she said and what she left and the result, and it does not tell me how, and I do not know how. And I am the priest of Ashwrath, sitting in my vestry with the church's explanation in one hand and the chronicle's evidence in the other. And they are not the same thing. They are not the same shape. They do not fit in the same hand. 3 nights I sat in the corner rather than open the case and try again to hold them both. Thomas Aldred is not saying the word. He does not need to say it. Vale will be drawn into it before the week is out, and he will be careful about it because he is always careful. And it will not be enough, because it never is. Edith Crow is in her house and she is waiting and she is not afraid. And the village is doing what villagers do when they are frightened enough, which is to find something to be frightened of that has a face and a name and an address at the end of the lane past the dye works, and in the wood, or past the wood, in the place of tall glass and iron where nobody lives at all, are 2 girls, one of whom sat in Edith Crow's house 5 days before she went, and was told that some doors only go one way, and went anyway. Because she was Agnes Marsh, dark-eyed, and her father's daughter, and she did not stop once she had started. God keep Edith Crow, who healed a boy and has been here long enough to know what that will cost her. God keep William Aldred, who is alive in a way he should not be, and does not yet know what he owes for it. God keep Agnes Marsh, who knew she was walking through a door and walked through it anyway. God keep this village, which is dying of a sickness it can name and something else it cannot, and does not yet know which of them will finish it.